Steve and Meet again, back with another Bullseye Guy podcast. Again, doing these things virtually is exciting, allows us to get a better and a broader reach of potential guests, not trying to convince everybody to come to LA to sit in our studios downtown. The studios are beautiful. I miss everybody down there, but this world of virtual is now exciting, and that's opened up the opportunity for us to have Greg as our guest today. Excited to have him involved. He's got a great program, mostly around sales. So I'm excited to not only learn about Greg, but learn about the program, share it with everybody. And with that, Greg, I'm going to turn it over with the perfunctory, introduce yourself and tell us all about you.
Sure. Thanks, Stephen. You're awesome. I appreciate meeting you. And hello, if you're listening to this. So PitchKitchen is the name of my sales enablement agency, PitchKitchen. So it's called PitchKitchen, and this is not a sales pitch, by the way, because we help cook up better sales messages, strategic narrative, website, and sales presentations. Because as you know, Stephen, most sales presentations, they're terrible.
Yeah.
And most B2B websites just go to the homepage. What is it about? It's about how great we are, how wonderful our product is, how perfect it is, how awesome everyone loves it, and nobody gives a shit. The problem with so much marketing today, messaging in your sales presentation, not yours, but people's sales presentations and their website. When I say website, I'm not even talking about a website, just our homepage. Not even their homepage, just like what's above the fold, like right there, when you soon as arrive at a website, is a narcissistic, self-centric story about how great we are, and nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares in the reality. Nobody cares about you, about your company, about your solution, about whatever you're selling. What do people care about?
They care about themselves.
Yeah. And we know this, we all know this.
Yeah.
Everybody knows this, but even the people that voted this week, I put a poll on LinkedIn. And said, what should your homepage be primarily about? Should it be about what your company, or should it be about the problem that you solve and for who?
Yeah.
And 90% of the people that voted said it should be about your company. No, sorry, be about the problem you solve. But here's the interesting thing. When I looked at those people and I looked at those websites that those people are from, virtually none of them had websites that was about the problem that they solve. It was always about their company and how great they are. So it's we all know this. So I'm on a mission. If I sound passionate, Stephen, I'm on a mission to shut down I would say, one-way pitches and turn them into two-way conversations, to free salespeople from what I call the tyranny of pitch decks.
Yeah.
And give them a conversational guide that allows them to have deep, open conversations with their customer about what they're trying to accomplish and what happens if they don't get there.
Yeah, and I see that a lot, not only in the companies we create, but in the presentations. And I have a little trick I do. It's called inside baseball, where a lot of people talk so much about what they do, but they use all their vernacular and it's in their head. And sometimes I'll bring people up and I'll make them knock a song, and I make everybody in the audience guess, and they always guess Happy Birthday, but it's the Star Spangled Banner. And the point is, the presenter, to what you're saying, Greg, the presenter knows exactly what they're saying, but not only does the audience not translate it, to your point, they're not translating to the value proposition of the other person. A lot of times I have people trying to sell the technology and not the value.
Well, even that word value proposition is an overused word that as soon as you say value proposition, people turn off. Their brains shut down.
Yeah. Again, that's why I said I was excited to talk to you on this. One of my little tricks is, if somebody's going to meet some other person, I have them Google what's important to Greg Rosner. like trying to figure out what's important to that other person and inverting how you present things. But I'd love for you to finish your thought, and then I'm curious what the 2 or 3 biggest mistakes are that you see across the industry, either on home pages or on pitch decks.
Yeah, sure. And my brain's going all over the place now. I got a little bit of ADD going on, by the way,
I can
which,
keep
by
up.
the way, my mother says is my superpower. But what was your question?
Yeah, well, you started to say something and I interrupted you. I apologize. So let's move to the question. From what you've seen on both websites and PowerPoints, what are the 3, if you were to say, here are 3 core mistakes? I know there's probably 30, but what are some of
Yeah,
the top mistakes you
yeah,
historically see on web page
sure.
and presentation?
All right, let's play like, you must be a redneck if, okay?
Okay.
Your presentation is living in the 90s. If you have a white background, your presentation is meant for the 90s. It's not meant for 2020s. If your presentation or website, well, if your presentation has page numbers in the lower right-hand corner,
Okay.
it was designed to be a document that you're shoving in people's faces instead of being a tool to have the right conversations with people. So those aren't presentations, those are documents. And I find it offensive when someone presents a document to me like that.
Yeah.
I don't need your document. Like, send it to me. Why are you here talking to me? I don't want to have you like drag my face in your documents. That's awful. Don't do that to me. I will leave a meeting room if someone does that to me.
Yeah.
And so that's what you're talking about. That's like the most offensive, egregious thing you can do. Number 2, on your homepage. On your homepage, to use jargon, to use language that means nothing to nobody except you.
Yeah. The
You think
inside
it's
baseball.
you think it sounds smart, you think it sounds intelligent, too cool for school. It means nothing to nobody. I think it's got to pass the mother test. The mother test. You know what the mother test is? Mother test is if you asked your mom to go to your homepage and say, "Mom, what do we sell here? What are we offering? To whom are
Yeah.
we offering it? And what are you supposed to do when you go to this site? Is it clear to you, Mom, what we're selling? Is it clear what problem we're solving? Is it clear what we're asking you to do?" And if your mother can't pass those 3 tests, you failed.
Yeah. All right. So there's our 2. What's our 3rd? Because I like them so far. There has to be
Third
one
one,
more.
yeah, there is. And it's last, and probably the most important one is not on the website, but in a presentation, is if your presentation's one way, if it's not conversational, meaning you do not have any questions on the screen, like an open question, like, here, we're going to stop right now, and I'm going to ask you what's most important to you about this.
Yeah.
If you can have a slide that actually asks that question or gives you the space to have an open conversation about what is most important to you about this, you have failed in your presentation. Because no matter how much research, and this ties me back to what you had said before, no matter how much research you can do about what really makes someone tick, looking at their website, looking at their bios or LinkedIn, you're never going to really know what's most important to them about this. The only way you're going to do that is through conversation. And I believe there's 12 essential conversations that happen in every large scale sale. I mean, large scale, over 100K value.
Okay.
Where
If anybody wonders what I'm looking at, I always take notes. So I'm ready.
I'm not going through all 12 right now,
Well,
but I'm
I
saying
didn't think you would, but just in case, I'm ready for the nuggets.
yeah, there's 12 essential conversations. And I have sold millions of dollars of contracts with companies like Apple, IBM, Texas Instruments. I've sold contracts that include very complicated software, enterprise software with services components, and sold to groups, to committees of 19 people with like 3 decision makers and a procurement buyer that
Yep.
dragged on for 9 months. I know what a freaking complex sale can be. And I can tell you that if you're not asking everybody in the whole group that you're selling to individually, what is most important to you about this, that you are not going to be successful in your sales presentation. And I say that from a sales side. So if you're using your sales deck that you get from marketing with white backgrounds and bullet points and numbers, I promise you, you're not going to be successful, especially now post-COVID when people are desperate for deep human connection. and you're showing up with your fancy pants solution and your pretty PowerPoint, forget it. You're done. You're
Yeah.
not going to be successful unless you have at least 4 of the 12 conversations.
And I agree with you on the complex sales, Greg, because I'm the same way. We've done a lot of enterprise sales, and my joke about, again, you asked before we started, are we politically correct on words? And I appreciate that. I'm not politically correct either. My joke about killing elephants, like hunting elephants, the big companies. I said, business development, I'm the guy that goes through the jungle. I shoots the elephant once with a bow and arrow, and he turns and looks at me. Sales is phone call, follow-up, email, committee. You can't kill an elephant by shooting them once. And I don't think people understand the difference of the follow-up, but you said something interesting, especially for enterprise complex sales. It's not usually one buyer. It's not usually one decision maker. Half the time it's not even one committee.
Yeah.
How do you determine when you're enterprise and complex selling, when do you insert those questions? Are there certain points within a presentation where questions and that interactivity is more valuable? Is it earlier or later? Is it in front of certain value points within the conversation? Have you found any of those sort of resonant points?
ABC, always be conversing. Always be conversing. Never be presenting.
Yeah.
And I call it the phalanx. That I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. It's with the battle, the way that the soldiers in ancient Greek times, where they had like the Spartan guys, where they put those things together and they penetrated. Yeah, phalanx. Yeah. So it's like a phalanx getting into a big company, and you could play the role of each one of those soldiers locked in at different times in the process, or you can get your team, and there's a team sale approach. But everybody should be, if you're directing the process, you need to provide your whole team with the strategy, the communication and conversing strategy, which really is around the 12 conversations. By the way, I'm writing a book that will be published in 2021 called The 12 Conversations Sales Therapy. And this is like I would say a guide for your team in selling complex deals, large multi-million-dollar sales to a group of people, where it's not going to be, someone's not going on your website, putting a credit card number and buying $1 million item.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen.
That's what we talk about. Enterprise sales. I said, guys, I'm not selling a $30 widget here. It's not something that I can beta test with a company that's going to write a check for $1 million right away. They're longer sales. But from the Pitch Kitchen, Greg, which I understand on the presentation side, and from the book coming out, what's the distinction? Like, let's stay in the, pardon the pun, in the kitchen right now. What is it that you do from a service standpoint with Pitch Kitchen that is the offering now, and sort of what companies can do and interact with you that's different than the book? The book I understand, and I'd be excited to talk about and read, but within Pitch Kitchen, what's sort of the service side of what you do? What kind of companies do you like to work with? Is there a sage size sector?
Yeah. So what we deliver is a strategic narrative that is a composite of a hashtag rebellion. It's, your Just Do It, your Black Lives Matter, your Make America Great Again. What is your 5 words, your 3 words that calls your people to action, calls your people, your tribe of customers to action? We help come up with that strategic narrative that positions you as the trusted advisor, the guide that helps the hero of the story achieve their goal with that Just Do It goal. Like the Just Do It from Nike appeals to people to be the best selves that they can be, and Nike positions themselves as, we're going to help you get there. So that's the ideal positioning. Become the trusted advisor, become the guide, and the messaging, instead of like we're the best, which is what most hashtags are. We're number one, which nobody cares about. So I help companies come up with the strategic narrative, and in like a 2-sentence or 1-sentence elevator pitch. And we also come up with a 12-slide sales presentation that echoes the 12 essential conversations that need to happen in any sales process, that salespeople could use each slide as they need to, deciding on where they are in the buying process, what conversations they need to be having, So they use it almost like a deck of cards. Am I going to use the ace of spades or the jack of clubs here, so to speak? Even though that's 52, I'm only talking about 12.
Right.
And so we also offer revamping of the homepage. And when I say homepage, that's what I'm talking about. I don't really care so much about the website. If someone really cares to dig around on your website and read all your product sheets and all your blogs, that's great. But 99% of the people going to your website are just going to your homepage. And we fix those so that there's at least, well, a much higher conversion. When people come there, people know what you're selling. They know what you want them to do. They know what problem you solve, and they take action, the action you want, which is either to speak to someone or to download something or to set up an appointment, which is the conversion, the call to action.
Yeah. And then on the PowerPoint and presentation sides, what's the
So we do
service side there and the offering and the process?
So we offer a package that includes developing the sales deck or the sales presentation that emulates the 12 conversations. And we deliver that, we get that done with all the language and all the slides and the images and the design and the diagrams. All that's great. And I would say out of 10 sales reps, I think about 6 will like see the sales presentation and they're like, oh my gosh, this is great. I finally am free to have the conversations I want so I can close the business that I need to close.
Yeah.
But they're going to be 4 people. They're going to be like, you know what? What is this? Where are my bullet points? What is this? How do I work with this? So we do some sales training as well, presentation training to help those sales reps really understand how to conduct a 3-part conversational presentation, starting with the problem, talking about the solution, and then the plan of how you can help them get there.
And again, we have to do a lot of that with our own. I mean, we're always trying to condense things down, but this concept of a PowerPoint being a conversation, being graphic, and being less bullet point and storytelling, more conversational. I agree with completely. And ours was hard. We won 8 contests around the world in blockchain. And it was a little bit of a longer deck, but some of my slides, I think to your point, were, market, question mark. And then it would lead, so it was just designing that little fraction of a thought to lead to a conversation point.
I would accelerate that. I would be like, besides a slide with a question on it, with a question mark, I would like do polls with Zoom. I'd put up a poll instead of having a slide saying, what do you think in the next 2 years? How many people, what percentage of the people are going to be doing XYZ in this industry? They're like, wow, that's interesting. It gets everybody engaged. And then they click on their answer, like a pop quiz. And then you discuss the answer, given your knowledge and insight of what is going on in the market. So it's not just a question, it's like using tools like polling, using drawing on the screen to like draw diagrams like on the screen while you're presenting. That's so powerful for helping people remember what you present. I think there's a study done that tomorrow people will remember only 10% of what you presented today.
Yeah.
And so this is like 10%. So, and then it's like, which 10% is it? Do you get to control that? No, you don't. So it's like what you're showing on the screen is so important, and how you're controlling focus and how you're engaging people in a presentation is so important. Asking questions is so important. Almost letting them drive, letting them think they drive is the art of a presentation.
So I have a life hack question, because I love the little life hacks. We've done surveys with a lot of our enterprise stuff is to CFOs, big companies, even though they're friends of mine, still a certain person. But I'm interested and fascinated by the poll concept, because it's more interactive. It's got a potentially instant feedback loop.
Yeah.
Are there certain tools you've used that are for polling?
Yeah. I'm a big fan of using Slido.com.
Okay.
Wonderful tool for its integration in Google Slides, which, by the way, we use Google Slides instead of PowerPoint to get it into the cloud. It's much easier to work with. So there's a Slido integration with Google Slides. We also, for Zoom, there's native polling inside of Zoom, and everyone's using Zoom since COVID. So like go hog wild with that. So those are the 2 polls that we like to use in presentations.
Perfect.
And you know what? We also like to use putting the camera on and saying, hey, everybody, I'm here. Here are my hands. Like, let me see a show of hands here. Who thinks that we're all going to be back to work by the end of April 2021.
Yeah. That's my trick
And
on
so like
public
just
speaking.
instantly you get engagement.
Yeah, my
Yeah,
trick on
yeah. So
public
it's like the
speaking
same.
is asking that question to get people to raise their hand because all the energy flows towards you and it gets
Yeah,
everybody engaged.
of course. So why wouldn't it work in Zoom? It
Yeah.
does, but very few presenters are doing it. Very few.
Yeah, I'll have to share that. My friend
So
Gary
there's a
and
couple
Harry are
hacks.
at Zoom. So, Greg, from a broader standpoint, back where one of my questions was back around homepage and PowerPoints and things like that, because people approach me often, asking who did ours or how do they redo them. I'd love to be able to send you people or have people in the audience. Is there a certain kind of company? Is there a certain sector? Is there a certain size? Like there's an arc. There's startups who are pre-revenue, pre-product, don't know what they're doing, that have a story that's different than a pre-revenue early stage, which is
Yeah,
different than a Series A, like it's an arc.
no. I like to look at not from the company's perspective, but from their customer's perspective.
Okay.
Who cares whether they're a startup or whether an old company, an old guard? By the way, there's no such thing. Everyone's a startup right now. Anyone who says they're not a startup, I'd be like, well, that's scary
Yeah.
because, rest on your laurels and you may not be around in 5 years because everything is changing. Decisions that companies are making in the next 6 months about how they're structuring their company, what products they're offering, how they're serving customers are going to impact the way that they're selling in the next 6 years.
I
So
agree.
I like to focus on customer. I know buyers, and so I know corporate buyers. I know enterprise buyers. I know them very well. So I don't care what you're selling. I will look at what you're selling from their perspective, meaning like, what do you know their problem so well? Do you understand their challenges so well that you can describe it in a way that 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 describes it better than they can describe it? Like, are you like an expert doctor, kind of like can describe like, hey, are you experiencing X, Y, and Z? Like, oh yeah, we are. How did you know? That kind of thing. So if you're able to describe your customer's problem better than they can describe it themselves,
Yeah.
you'll automatically position yourself as the best solution.
All right.
And
So,
that's even before, yeah, so that's even before you talk about your credibility. It's because you understand their problem. So I will work with these companies. We work with these companies to make sure they're putting right very close to the top of the website what problem they solve very clearly, so it really strikes a nerve. And
again, I
so,
like to be granular. Sometimes it's a little too targeted, but I like to figure out where people really prefer to fit. So, and again, I'm back. Homepages I get because that's right in front. Presentations to me are more interesting because it's everything from raising money to selling your product. So sometimes they have different objectives. Do you like working with a blank slate, blank board, building everything ground up with the messaging?
well,
Or do you like
yeah.
taking things that are already there that you can massage and improve upon?
Well, everything is in a process of being improved upon. So of course we'll look at what they have, but we'll be like, are you answering these 5 questions
Right.
on your website? Are you saying what you do? Are you saying what problem you solve? Are you telling me what I need to do? Are you giving me the plan of how I'm going to get there as a customer? Are you pointing out why you're different than your competition? So like these basic things, that's what I'll look at. And some of the time, very like only one of those are answered. Oh, you're trusted by 12,000 companies around the world. Great. So you've made that, you have that base covered. But there's like 9 bases you've got to cover on your homepage. So I'll just make sure that we'll just make sure they cover all of them. And when you talk about pitches, investor pitch decks, of course, pitching to an investor is a different type of story, but
Right.
it's a story nevertheless. Investors want to know, really, they're the allies. They're your ally in achieving change in the world. And so you need to point out, what the change is. So I'm speaking rather vaguely here, but I think we work with startups, we work with construction companies, we work with software development companies, with IT companies, um, you know, different. I mean, we're not specialized now with the type of businesses we're working with because we're really applying I would say, a story formula that really helps companies get more higher conversion in their sales because it appeals to their customers.
And within, let's go back to again, because we deal with government, we deal with fintech, we deal with banking. We're sort of in a bunch of these big complex systems. Again, and this is as much for me as the audience. I'm always curious from complex sales, right?
Yeah.
Multi-sales channel, long sales process. Let's just say enterprise software, government, things like that. What do you find, again, if there's 2 or 3 sort of tips, are there a couple things you can say, hey, here's some of the most important points that across a broad range, you say, here's what you should at least always be thinking about or presenting to. I know everybody's going to be different, but is there anything that kind of crosses the chasm of different industries and sales cycles?
Yes. Problem centric. Yeah.
Meaning?
Too many companies are solution centric. They lead with their solution, leading with their thing, leading with how great things can be, how wonderful things can be. But that doesn't work in sales. If you've sold $1 million of business, you know that people don't change. They don't buy to become better. They only buy to become better if what they're dealing with is untenable. It's too painful to keep things
Yeah.
as they are. And so problem centric selling, problem centric approach to your website, to your sales presentation is like a singular philosophy that I would definitely recommend that everybody listening to this can appreciate. Lead with how much you understand about the problem. You're an expert. You have a solution. That means you really understand the problem. Talk about the problem. Empathize with your customers about the problem. Talk about, suppose they solve that problem. What would that mean for them? Because again, if you're selling a solution, that solution is just a means to an end. It's not the end.
Yeah.
I mean, it's simple. Like you're selling a screw or a bunch of screws, different types of screws. They're not buying those screws. They're buying different types of ways to hang up stuff on their wall so they can have a great experience in their home. So it's like you're selling a solution, which is a means to the end, and the problems is what you need to focus on. This is a universal approach, a philosophy that is embedded in the 12 conversations and in every sales presentation and in every website that we design.
So I was going to ask you to give me an example, but I posted this earlier today. Smart people ask smart questions, which I tend to want to think I'm smart, but the
Yeah, it was a good
smarter
question.
people answer questions before you've even asked them. And so you actually answered with an example on the hanging of pictures, which was great. Last couple minutes here, just finishing up. What was your motivation for the book and the 12 steps? When does it come out? What are some of the tips and tidbits that are going to be encompassed in the book?
Yeah, I think the motivation is sitting in too many conference presentations, sitting in the room, the back of the room, where someone is presenting and yip yapping about their thing, that I'm just squirming. I'm like, I got to get out of here. And I look at everybody around the room. Everyone is bored to tears. No one is really engaged. And for some reason, the person up the front of the room thinks that they have everyone captive. But on that day, I remember I was in the back of the room. I got up and I went to the bathroom, and nobody really realized that I left. And I was so motivated. So you know what? I want to change the world. I want to make it so that anyone who's presenting, any salesperson that is really trying to help their customer, that they can do that by having problem-centric conversations, diving in deeply to their customers' pain and their problems, and really becoming that trusted guide, that trusted advisor to help their customer evolve and change and get better.
Yeah, that's great. I'm a big proponent of helping other people be successful. So let's wrap up with one theme, Greg, but 2 questions. First question, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you? What's your preferred method? And 2, how can they follow you or keep in touch so they know when the book is coming out?
Sure. Go to pitchkitchen.com and certainly look at examples there, before and after, sort of horror show before examples, the ones I tried, white background, bullet points, and page numbers before stories.
Perfect.
And after stories, you see like what Steve Jobs would approve of. Like, what would Steve Jobs say about a sales presentation? So we like to think that he's looking over our shoulder in how we design. And as far as where they can reach me, LinkedIn is a great place to connect with me. And that's where you'll see the show that I put on called Sales Therapy. Put that on about twice a week. And it's a live show where we talk about the problems in selling.
Perfect. And then to follow you, is that the best way also? Anything
Yep.
social to follow you with for when the book's coming out?
LinkedIn is where I'll be
LinkedIn,
promoting
perfect.
the book.
Okay.
It's a business book.
I always like to find the best method because there's so many of them now. People are sort of all over the place. So, but Greg, greatly appreciate your time. I know you're super busy out there, helping the world and changing the world. And
thank you, Stephen. I really enjoyed talking to you. You're awesome. I appreciate the work that you're doing, and thank you so much for having me on your show.
Thanks. And anybody that can send people, Greg, that was why I was asking too. I always have people that come to me looking for that skill, and I want to be able to send them to you because I think what you're doing is great. So again, Stephen Me with the Bullseye Guy. Thanks for tuning in. We'll have another great show coming up, and then check out Greg, follow him, find him on LinkedIn, follow his show also. Thanks everybody. See you next week.